Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Normally, I have this impulse of wanting to use the word howdy to greet you. Well, I don't feel that cheerful today. It was June 14th, 2025, and we were having a wonderful rally. It was a No Kings rally, Flag Day, and someone tapped me on the shoulder and told me there'd been killings and shootings in Minneapolis. Senator John Hoffman and his wife were killed. State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband were shot, but they did survive. 2 weeks ago today, I asked everybody to have a moment of silence for the killing of Renee Good. And here today we are again, very sad about my beloved home state, Minnesota. We had another killing by ICE in Minneapolis today, a 37-year-old nurse. We don't know what caused the killing, but the feds have already put out what they think happened without any investigation at all. So once again, a moment of silence for those we've lost and for those whose lives have been forever disrupted by Trump. I think I gave my Kleenex away. Okay, that works. Thank you very much. So our rallies, I tell you, they continue to be outstanding. On Saturday, this past week, we had 250 people at our corner. That's awfully good for a midwinter, cold, chilly morning. And then on Tuesday, we had another rally. It was the anniversary of Trump's inauguration. And that one brought out over 450 people. Again, thank you all for showing up. Somehow, someday, Green Valley maybe will be in the news for having so many people in a small community coming out to rally. We've got another rally coming up. Our regular rally is February 7th. And then we're going to have a special one the following week, the 14th of February, and that's a rally for violence against women and girls. Thank you. You didn't like seeing my nose run, really? Yeah, I'm sorry. It is so sad. Thank you, thank you. So, those are some rallies to keep in mind. February 14th, we will have Jo Mendoza. She is running against Siscomani in CD6. That meeting will be held at CPAC, and we're doing it in joint session with Quail Creek, Democrats of Quail Creek. And Carol Smith, president of Quail Creek, is here with us today. Carol, thank you for coming. So the reason that I asked Kate to put on the music celebration, March 13th will be an annual dinner and fundraiser, and that will be held at Quail Creek in the Madeira Ballroom. And the name of this get-together is 250 Years Celebration Time. Come on. Now, the disappointing thing is, at this point, we do not have a keynote speaker. We had hoped to have Adrian Fontes, and at the last minute he had to regret. I think it's because of all the lawsuits that are being flung at him. I think he has to be in DC. The feds have filed suit against him for not relinquishing the data on our voters. He said absolutely not. That was not the federal's responsibility to make sure they were accurate. That was his. Again, so Ryan is running for House or Senate?
I'm running for Senate.
Ryan is running for the Senate. Aiden is running for the House. I told Aiden that I usually think I'm the best dressed on these Saturday afternoons. She outdid me. And Jackie is also running for the House in the LV19. So if there's some confusion, yes, welcome all of you. So their petitions are in the back, and you can sign a petition for all three. They are not competing against each other. We get to vote for two in the House, only one in the Senate. But okay, so what we got going here is that we want each of them to have 10 minutes to talk to tell us their story, how they're doing on collection of money. You need money, let us know. And are you running a clean campaign? You are not. Okay, but it doesn't mean you don't need money. Okay, I believe you and Jackie are both running a clean election. Okay, let's start out with Ryan, I believe.
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me out. My name is Ryan Slawson, and I served in military intelligence throughout the Iraq War.
Ryan, hold it close to your mouth.
I'm a small business owner, and I work full-time as a computer programmer. At the end of the day, I face the same bills and face the same worries and hope for the same prosperity, liberty, and stability as the rest of you. And that is why I'm standing here today, not as a career politician, but as someone from the working class, to ask you for your support to be your next state senator. I've served in places where death was the price of failure. I am present with frontline service workers to see their world, and I bear the responsibility as their business owner for their livelihood and their well-being. As a programmer, I work in a field of constant transition to new technology and new ideas built upon the successes that came before. This experience shows me a political system that is failing the basic test of leadership, the well-being of the people it represents. Too often, good-hearted public servants are trapped by the conflicting interests of big campaign donors and the voters who cast the ballots. This creates a contradiction that leaves our system ultimately unable to craft the policies that we need for that stability, prosperity, and liberty that we all desire and deserve. We arrived at this moment because the normal, boring business of governing, budgets, priorities, and problem solving has been abandoned by monopolized institutions twisted against the people that they were intended to serve. In its place, we face an all-out assault on our liberty, our communities, and the minds of our family and neighbors. The opposition treats the rule of law like an obstacle to avoid and not a covenant to uphold. But here's what I know. The boring work must go on, and it must go on while we simultaneously defend our communities from those who would loot our future and deepen our suffering. It will take clear-eyed courage to confront this lawlessness, and we must integrate organized and principled popular resistance and enact smart policy to reaffirm our human rights, our community self-determination, and our shared values, rejecting the politics of supremacy and terror. My focus is on dismantling the rigged rules of the game in Phoenix, rules that keep Arizonans too poor, too sick, and too tired to fight the corruption and waste that siphon away the wealth that our labor creates. Whether you're building a career, running a business, or relying on a hard-earned retirement, the system should work for you. I believe in the quality of life for every resident of our state must be our primary focus. Every elected official owes you a duty of accountability, transparency, and evidence-based good faith governance. We are faced with global scale crises, yet we have a vacuum of serious leadership, and we have no one who will lash themselves to the helm and guide us through this maelstrom. We must organize and reinforce the resilience and self-determination of our people to weather the looming disasters ahead, both natural and man-made. But I cannot do this alone. Nobody can do it alone. We must come together. We must take collective responsibility for the well-being of our communities and fix the systems that have been sabotaged against solving our problems. When Arizonans from every walk of life, from Green Valley to Sierra Vista to Safford, begin to act as one people, We will mobilize that true silent majority disaffected by decades of inaction, and we will meet them at the ballot boxes and in our streets, and we will send these petty tyrants back to their mother's basements. Thank you.
Swallow or Addie for short? Okay, yeah. That says most of my career, but I'll summarize it anyway. Despite my appearance, I was born in 1988, so I am 37 years old. And a lot of people are shocked to hear about that. But I joined the Army when I was 18 years old in 2007. Well, actually before that, let me talk about how I grew up. I grew up in poverty. My mother, who's the strongest woman I've ever known, had multiple jobs. She would, that ranged from being a bar owner to a florist to even working at Sears. She had multiple jobs, oftentimes minimum wage, unfortunately, but she had multiple jobs and she made a family of 4 children work. And I lived in rural South Carolina at the time. I was born in Washington State and I grew up in South Carolina. At the age of 18, I joined the Army, and that was the only way I could escape poverty. When you live in poverty, you make drastic choices in order to escape that. And that was my way of escaping poverty when I was 18. Upon joining the Army, I spent nearly 20 years in the Army, most of that being active duty, where I deployed to many hazardous locations, such as Iraq and Afghanistan. My job at the time was a 35 mic, which is an interrogator, but my job wasn't really to interrogate people. My job was to collect intelligence from the local population, meaning I oftentimes lived with them, I worked with them, I spent a lot of time with the local Iraqis and Afghans, and they too, I noticed, also lived in poverty. But there, at least, government wasn't as corrupt as we might see in other locations, or it was more corrupt than we see in other locations. So they had to, women's problems were among the worst of them, but there was corrupt politicians, and there were many people who were barely surviving, and they had to resort to violent actions against people because that's the only way that they could make their money. Because when people are unable to make a living, they resort to drastic measures. After Afghanistan, where I went through, again, lots of combat, I came back to the States and I decided that I wanted to pursue another career in the Army, which was a counterintelligence special agent. What that means is I conducted national security investigations against traitors in the Army or people or contractors who held an Army equity. I conducted national security investigations and led national security investigations in Southwest Asia, where I was the end of a 15-year investigation against someone. After my counterintelligence career, I came back to the United States and I decided that I was going to be an instructor in 2019. Granted, me being intelligence, I was always in Sierra Vista for different training and different opportunities. I was a Sergeant First Class in E7, meaning I had significant responsibility. And so I decided to be an instructor, and I was an instructor full-time for quite a few years, where I taught human intelligence, counterintelligence, and leadership courses. I also managed budgets ranging in the millions while I was there as the non-commissioned officer in charge. But on August 13th, 2024, I made the most difficult decision I have ever made. I have been through combat, but this scared me more than anything else, and that was realizing that I'm actually a trans woman. And so I full-on decided to start transitioning, hormones, and all of the things on August 13th of 2024. At the time, the administration hadn't ravaged the country, and you could serve in the military as a trans person. Well, in January of 2025, when the corrupt administration decided to take hold, I had to go through the process of being forced out of the military without completing the 20 years, mind you. Nearly 20 years, like I said. So I was forced out of the Army strictly for just being who I was. And actually, just recently, because the reserves, I was active reserve at the end of my career. The reserves tend to take quite a lot longer than the regular Army component. And so I finally got my orders, kicking me out of the Army, honorably, of course, but kicking me out of the Army, and officially I am 100% kicked out as of February 12th, 2026. So that's where I am there. So as far as the campaign, so I decided to run for office because I was tired of it, of all the corruption. I was tired of things not working. And one thing that you learn in the Army is if the proper leader does not display themselves or does not stand up, sometimes you have to be that person to do it. And that's why I decided to stand up and join politics. I don't like politics. I'm just going to be honest with you. I hate politics. I don't want to be a career politician. I'm doing this because I know I can do it, and I love helping people. And this is the best way to help people, is having somebody stand up to fight against the administration. I've always been a rebel. It's okay. I'm okay fighting for everything. I've done it my whole life. So this is nothing new in that arena. So I started the election first as a congressional candidate. Joe Mendoza was actually one of my competitors among a lot of people. Early on, though, I felt like it really wasn't my calling. It wasn't what I wanted to do when I came to politics. And honestly, I saw enough candidates in the congressional seat, Joe Mendoza included, who were worthy of having that seat. So I decided to instead focus on my local community, which is LD19. And I started doing the research, and the fact that the Republicans have held such a stronghold here, and they just keep swapping back and forth between the House and the Senate and doing nothing to change anything, I decided that I was instead going to focus on local politics, because I had a friend ask me a question once, and they said, would you rather make a deeper impact or a broader impact? And the answer was, I wanted to make a deeper impact. I didn't want to necessarily impact a ton of people very little. I wanted to impact the small community as most as I could. And so that's why I decided to run for the House seat. And currently, we are doing pretty well. I decided to run clean because I didn't want to run the problems of running a conventional campaign, and I didn't, with everybody facing the problems with healthcare and employment and ICE raids and everything else, I didn't want, me personally, nothing against anybody else who runs conventional, but I personally did not want to ask people for donations constantly, right? When you run a clean election, you only have a maximum amount of money that you can collect. For me, that's about $5,100 and something. And we're currently at the moment where I can only raise a maximum more of $4,000 to fill out the early contributions. After that, I will never be able to ask people for donations ever again this entire campaign, excluding the $5 contributions, which is needed in order to get the public funding that the state gives you upon getting at least 200 signatures. As we stand right now, my petition, I am about, if I look at the numbers that were presented, I'm about 30 to 40% on petitions. I want more than that because I want to be able to have more just in case there's problems. I primarily use the eQual system because it verifies your voting address and such, but paper petitions work just as well. But so I'm about 40% on that, and I'm about 15% on the clean election certificate, clean election signatures that I need. That's not including anything that George might have given me or received. All right, and so I will end with saying that the election is running great. I have one staff person, and that's my campaign manager, and I have just been endorsed by Arizona List. That's an all-female organization that that tries to elect women to fight for bodily autonomy, which is something I greatly obviously want. And so, yeah, that's my first of many endorsements. There are other ones planned, and I will announce those as they come. Thank you so much.
It's really concerning that they killed a nurse. So where was she and what was going on?
It was a he.
Boy.
He.
Oh, it was a guy.
Guy
Okay.
nurse.
Wow. I remember there was a woman killed up at St. Mary's ER by a distraught husband. That was 20 years ago or so. I worked at Holy Cross, for 19 years in the ER, mostly. And then I did another 6 years in New Mexico. I did risk and quality management. I topped off just kind of wanted to do. I retired officially at 75. Retired. I even retired my license. Why am I running? As I've told everyone before, my story is, once I saw the big bad bill, I thought, and Medicaid was going to get cut, this is going to be, to me, a domino effect. And people who are in a position where Medicaid is all they have, it's just unimaginable to have these people, our neighbors, some of our neighbors. I have neighbors in Elephant Head who are most likely on Medicaid, and because maybe they didn't qualify for Medicare. I have no idea. But sitting in the ER, you get a patient in, it's on Medicaid, and you have to find a transfer. And the hospitals like to spread their loss, so they only want so many, and then of course it's a time of get your treatment done fast to get them out. And it's, you go through, and there were times where we were sending people up to Phoenix when the 5 hospitals in Tucson would be full. So there's just so much about Medicaid that is just wrong. And so when I pulled the Medicaid sheet off of that big bad bill, and it's just phenomenal how much they want to make sure that everybody that's died it's been removed from Medicare. I mean, it's automatic through your courts, through our county vital record system. What else did I feel like what I wanted to run? Well, 65% of our population is over 65, between all 5 counties to some extent. And I've been out to every county except Greeley so far, and people are hurting. I mean, and they don't really want to talk to me about it, but they'll say things. So one of the cardiologist groups that's very well known in Tucson closed their clinic in Safford. Now there's 2 other, but Graham had to hire 2 cardiologists. That's big bucks, but they decided to do that. Now, does this particular person, if her husband wanted to change cardiologists, or does he make the $150-mile trip into Tucson, once a month? Yeah, and it's going to also be a stressor on our local hospitals. Now, maybe Northwest won't feel it so bad because they have such a high payer. They got lots of, they've got our Medicare and they've got private insurance. So down here we might not feel it. TMC is going to have a time because they're a nonprofit hospital. I don't know about what Carondelet would do because it's now being run by a for-profit business. And then, of course, Banner is running the U of A. And it will, some clinics are going to just cut back, and that's going to affect us. We may have to go somewhere else. And it's going to get nasty, I think. I think in this community, we're pretty good, but Graham, Greeley, and of course we don't know if Holy Cross is going to stay open down in Nogales. That's 70 miles, 60 to 70 miles to the first hospital here, the one that's in Sahuarita. What else did I want to do? I just want to do this. I am a political junkie. I've never run for office, and I just wanted to go out and listen to what people are saying, and that's kind of what I've been doing for the last 3 months. It's just feeling what is out there, and my position, I'm going to follow what the Democrats say. we're going to be together hopefully as a team. I mean, I know teamwork is not always advantageous. And that's one of the things that I feel like I wanted to bring up. Besides that, the school issues, which doesn't affect us as much. And then we have water. I went to my first workshop in Wilcox this last week, so I'm learning a little bit more about issues with water. I noticed that they were drilling a new well down on Abrego. I saw they pulled it yesterday, I guess. They must have finished it. I'm like, you know, because we have, even though Pima Mine has been here long before Green Valley was, we now have another mine over on the other side of the Santa Ritas. So it's just, it's concerning. So what am I asking? Is voting, and is to encourage our neighbors to vote. I know we had a high amount of people throughout all of Arizona that just decided not to vote. And also to bring in more of the millennial and Generation Z young folks to get them involved. I've also been endorsed by Arizona List. Really is helping me a lot. You get a mentor, you get things, walk through processes, help me go through all my, and then on top of it, you know, these are homemade. And they're in free printing, you know, this type of stuff. And so every time I do it, we keep fine-tuning it, making it a little bit more succinct. And the same way with my little business card. But it's the voting. It's just getting out the vote and helping people understand the importance. Because currently, as Ryan had also mentioned, the chaos in Phoenix. We need to get that group out. I mean, they've been on there for 30 years, and as a risk manager, you always look at what was the level of harm occurred to the patient. So let's say, what is the level of harm that the state legislature is doing to us? It's, you know, because that's how my mind thinks. I'm like, the stupid bills. I mean, I went through RTS today. I went through about a dozen of them. Every one of them is picking at the transgender kids to go to play sports. Picking at, oh, we're going to do prayer in all the federal meetings. And I mean, it just goes on and on. And oh, something about concealed or you can go into the airport with a concealed gun. I mean, it's just not safety. There's so much, it's almost like they want to just hurt us all the time. And then, of course, they've set up this impossible tax. You know, they did the flat tax back when Ducey was governor. So listen, it's just such a variety of things. And that's why, you know, sustainability to me is partly, I was going to talk about health care, which way, but sustainability is health care. Schools need to have sustainability. And then let's see, what's the next, what would I do in the House? I would follow my leadership. Right now, there's 27 Democrats. There's 33 Republican in the House. So I could be number 28. She could be number 29. Then we could only need 2 more. I mean, we would, even though we are a very red district, we could really pull something off. Because I think there's a whole section of folks out there that we haven't touched yet. And I like the thing, I can't remember who said it, but it was in one of the other LD meetings, is their goal was to touch 40,000 or 50,000 people. I think I've only done 10,000 right now, sort of. Because it's hard, you know, it takes a lot of work. And I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank Ryan and Aiden for joining us. And again, I'm not going to stop. I mean, I may fall apart. Let's put it this way. I just may walk slower next year. But I'm going to keep at it. I still have a brain, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, so I'm glad all 3 of you came. Wonderful messages from all 3 of them. Let's give them another big hand. All right. And yes, even even if you are the minority, I think you will make a big difference. So don't fall apart, keep working. Brian, you're alone there, but you'll do it, right?
I have my whole district behind me. What are you talking about alone?
Absolutely. In fact, Kate, do you have the map?
Yes, I do.
Just so you know what LD19 consists of. Can you see that, or should I turn this light up? So I grabbed this map off of Google. So the white area is where these three travel to get their votes, to get 10,000 people. That's good to listen to you. So if you could see, I didn't want to scribble and try to put the cities in there. Graham County, is that Graham? Yeah.
It's right on the New Mexico border.
Oh, all right. So anyhow, Graham only has one city, Safford.
Oh no, Clinton.
Clinton is smaller too. Anyhow, yeah, right, of significance. So if you can read that, Greenlee, Cochise,
Oh, right.
Pima.
In Santa Cruz.
So anyhow, those are the cities that are in each of the,
Where's Green Valley on there?
we are in,
Far Big West.
All the way to the left.
yeah, we're in Pima County. So anyhow, that gives you an idea of the miles that they have to put on in order to tell people their story and why they want to run. So anyhow, George had scribbled out a couple of things for me to ask you about. We'll go one at a time. What are the top 3 challenges you see facing Arizona in the next decade?
Now, do we want to just go to these?
Ryan, sure. We'll go in the same order.
So the 3 big challenges that I see are definitely going to be climate change and the effects of that, the protection of our environment and our water resources from overuse and misuse, and then I think that there is a big problem with extremism that has been, kind of inculcated into our society from a media landscape that is completely bought and paid for by people who want us at each other's throat, want us fighting, and want us hating each other. And those are the 3 big challenges, and challenges that kind of also make dealing with one of them at a time very difficult, as dealing with one problem then excites the extremists and so on and so forth. So there is a very, very convoluted knot that we have to navigate through and have to see ourselves to the other side of, and it's not something that can be done just by political means. It has to be communities and people in mass demanding what is right and doing what is right.
Thank you. Jackie, the same question. Top 3.
Top 3? Well, water. Water's going to be number 1. And after having attended this little workshop and then going through and looking at the Title 45 that covers our water, rural Arizona was never included in the original legislation back in the 1860s. And the fact that over time, because of the current majority in the last 60 years have sold out, to people outside of the state, even though they may have moved here too, to do all of the golf courses and, make this into a winter visitor and a winter, wonderland, which is nice. But they didn't think about, the long-term effects that it's having to us. The other is then in the mines, the mining has got under some control, but now with the rise of having to have more copper, stuff is going to accelerate again. And you need water to process your product. And Cochise is, I think, having the worst right now. Every time I've been there, it's been all about the dairy farms and that. And And once the caverns that hold our water, once eventually they start to collapse. So water is just going to be a real issue, because it also goes in line with climate change, as Ryan is talking about, because we're not going to be able to make up the difference, because we're going to get hotter. We've been hotter now for 3 years in a row, and I think it's even longer than that. So that is, and then to think about, they wouldn't even hear a bill last year on any environmental or any water issue from the Democrats. It was all from the Republicans, and of course it's from one of our current legislatures. She is the one who is the chair of the House Committee for Land and Water Usage.
Say her name.
What's her name?
Griffith, Gail Griffith. She's a real estate person. And
92 years old.
She is 90-some years old. Yeah.
yeah, and so second is to get our schools back in order. We need to stop that. And we're not. And I don't know how they're going to do audits and accountability. My neighbor did homeschooling. I don't think it turned out very well for her kids. I feel sorry. They're constantly having to have mom help them, and I just think that's so sad that they're not self-sufficient enough to be on their own totally. And my third, I'm going to go back to health. As the gentleman over there said, health is my passion, and that means I have to keep thinking about how we are going to take care of our community and make sure that people get the care that they need. And to me, that's my other focus. Thank you.
Thank you. Abby?
Thank you. And weirdly, I guess I'm going to have the same three that Jackie just did, but I have a slightly different approach to them. So first being water. So the biggest problem with water and how I would fix it is there's just corrupt legislation that's involved with it. And there's legislation that prioritizes businesses and business water use as opposed to literally the people who are living here. So that's where I would start, is I would look at the legislation and start rescinding some bills that are corrupt, let's just be honest. And then the other one would be limiting the water usage that businesses can do. And I mean, I'm not referring to small businesses, I'm referring to the big businesses, the ones taking a ton of water, and sometimes not even going back to Arizona. Sometimes, growing the plants and sending them out of the state, or growing the cows, or not growing the cows, feeding the cows and then sending the meat other places, right? So it's not even benefiting Arizona. So instead, maybe make those businesses truck in water so the residents can drink from it instead. So that's where I would start. The second one would be education, and I think the biggest problem with education is the lack of funding for our public schools and the incentivization on using vouchers and the corruptness of the vouchers. And that's where a lot of the money is going to. We shouldn't be beefing up charter schools that probably have religious agendas, or private schools. We should be beefing up the public education. And then the private education is for people who want private education. They can pay for it themselves. Or if you want, or like if your kid has like special needs or something, then that's when a voucher can be used for a private school. Otherwise, people should be going to public schools. The voucher should not be used to just move your kids somewhere else. If you want to put them in another school, that's fine, but the state shouldn't be paying for it. And the state shouldn't be paying for anything that has a religious agenda. There's a separation of church and state for a reason. And then my third one would be healthcare. And healthcare obviously is a big issue. People are going to lose Medicaid, Medicare, a lot of lifeline services that my family had to use when we were growing up because we were in poverty. People still use today, and it's not something that we should be taking away. Quite frankly, I think everybody in Arizona should have health care given. Like, it should be a basic human right. And so I have what I'm calling Arizona Shield, which is a healthcare initiative, and I've talked to Adelita Grajava about it. I've talked to Joe Mendoza about it. I've talked to other either legislators currently or current legislators about it, and it's a healthcare initiative that I want to introduce that will give at least all the people in Arizona, I'm just focusing on Arizona, at least the basic free healthcare. Not affordable, but free healthcare. I trust you, trust me, the money is there, we're just not using it correctly. And that'll save the people who are going to lose health care. And then also it'll help the people who do have insurance. You can also use it to maybe fund services or surgeries or support that are not funded by your insurance. There's tons of things that people need that the insurances just won't cover, or you have overly expensive co-pays or other problems that are associated with it. So it also helped with that as well. And I don't think that that's a perfect solution, but I think it's a good start to solving our healthcare issue.
Wonderful. All three of you, super responses. Thank you very, very much. Okay, back to Brian. It's a tricky question. How do you plan to win your race?
I plan to win the race by building a movement based on hope and based on what we can be and what we can do as a community and as people, not just what can be done for us and not just ideological control over society. We are not actually making policy right now. The Republicans are just reinforcing their ideology through government mechanisms. And when people have hope that there's actually something going to be done, that there is actually movement forward, and that there is actually investment coming to their communities to give them opportunity, to give them the dignity of doing it themselves, that is when they will stand up. That's when they'll get off the sofa. That's when they'll stop going both sides, same bird, and get out and do something. And that's how I'm going to win, is I'm going to give them something to do.
Super. Jackie.
Oh, thank you. I hope to be able to shake 40,000 hands. I know I'm not going to, that's not really realistic, but again, it's touching people, and we have to do it one at a time, and also in small groups. And of course, Facebook and all those social media will help. I'm just very persistent. I just walk into meetings. You wouldn't believe how I get into stuff. I just look and figure out where I can go tomorrow, and I just look and see what's going on around me. And I got a lot of people in this room and elsewhere that'll give me clues about something's going on, and I'll just show up. And the other is I'm trying to explain to people when I'm in a group. I did this when I was in Grand the other night. I want to be your voice, because not everybody has time or for whatever reason, you need somebody up there to be your squeaky voice in that state house. And I think I can do a good job with that. And with that, there's another part of this, and Brian did touch on it, is that we haven't built communities like we had before, because we travel so much, people move too many times, and we lose contact with, when I retired, you wouldn't believe how many people I just lost not so much friendships, but, we just went our own way. And then, so now I get back in, and I'm like, now I'm getting new friends, but people are coming back that I knew 10 years ago. So there's a problem there, and I think that's what our rallies are doing. Our rallies are starting to develop a community, a spirit among us. And after seeing what Minnesota is doing right now, they're awesome. And I don't know if we're gonna face it in Phoenix. It's coming to Phoenix probably next. So and I want to be there. I just want to try to participate in everything I can to show that I'm out there. And just keep telling them, please give us your vote, because we can only change. And he's right. The current leadership has no interest in passing a decent bill. They're all bad, and they're stupid, actually. Anyway, thank you.
All right, thank you. So how am I going to win? So I feel like I approach it in a two-pronged approach. I'm a different candidate than we've really seen in Arizona, not just because of my identity, but because of just what I do and the inner rebel that's in me. So Honestly, I'm just going to be never going to change. I'm going to be as authentic as I can, and I'm just always going to be out there and speak my mind, speak my message, and be honest to people, because I don't have the energy to lie to people. So it takes too much, so I'm not going to do it. So I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to be myself. But then when it comes to actual campaign strategies, when you look at the math, right, we have the numbers to flip the seats. You know, the ADLCC might say that we don't, and it might not be worth a fight to some people, but no, we have the numbers to flip it. And I'm not even talking about getting Republicans or Libertarians on our side. Those are just extra numbers. We have the numbers when it comes to Democrats and Independents to flip the seats if people actually got out there and voted. We need about 50,000, it could give or take, about 50,000 votes in order to win. Both Jack and I separately, and Ryan as well. We all need 50,000 votes, basically, roughly around there, to win, and that's the magic number. And when you look at it, you're able to do it, and that's not including the millennials and Gen Z who have been disinterested. I was a disinterested millennial. Yes, I hate what's going on, but I decided to fight back. I'm among the millennial crowd, and I hang out with Gen Z all the time. I understand what they're facing and why they feel disinterested, because why wouldn't you if you grew up in the ages that they grew up, right? So really we have to get them engaged and just get the numbers of the independents and the Democrats to turn out and get the 50,000 votes that we need per person. And I plan on doing that so with clean elections, one of the problems is that you only get a certain amount of money. I can never raise money past it. I can't use my personal funds. I can't do any of that once I get public funding. But what that also means is I have to use the money effectively. So that means I'm not going to be wasting it on things that I don't think are effective uses of money. I'm not going to waste it on doing mailers, because that's, to me, a waste of money. I'm going to use it on voter outreach, on social media presence, on getting to events, on speaking those kinds of things, getting canvassing, getting volunteers for canvassing, getting the support of other organizations to help me knock doors, make phone calls, and get some yard signs out there, because that is effective. But I'm not wasting time with the stuff that's not effective. And so that's why I'm glad I have the campaign team that I have now. So that's how I'm going to win.
Wonderful. Listening to all three of you today, we'd be surprised. I think I can speak for everybody. Surprised if you don't win, and you will all do a good job when you get there. Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the floor? Yes, Brian.
Well, I think you started it when you put the map up. Does
Yeah.
everybody hear me?
Yeah.
I don't think I need the mic. The map's very interesting because all of southern Arizona is kind of a district mess, and it favors Republicans. So my question is, if we're lucky enough, the blue wave prevails, come fall, Katie stays in, we get the House, we get the Senate, what's your position on redistricting to help preserve what we're doing?
Republicans have done nothing to show any sort of hand or gesture across the aisle to say that they are willing to work with us in coalition and that they are willing to work towards the good of the people. So I think that delegitimizes their stake and the map that they drew to marginalize our voices. And if they are going to play hardball and to the victor go the spoils, then let's play.
Oh, I agree. If we win, we need to come in with a big stick. I mean, I'm a progressive person, but I'm also, we have to get the job done. If we get elected, the job is to pass good bills for the citizens of this state. And I think we are going to see because Patagonia is so upset about being out of their old district. They are just, I was surprised when I was about that. And
What does that mean?
And I think that once people see when their health care and other things are starting to slip away, I think there is going to be a change. But I definitely think we need to go in full force and lay it down. And I will not go across the aisle at all. I'm sorry, because there's so much to clean up in this state. So many bills, as Aiden says, that are just, we have to get them out. We have to clean this stuff out and bring in new bills that are for the citizens. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So somebody had a comment while Jackie was speaking, and I was going to talk about it anyway. But so when you look at the map, what you see is gerrymandering, and a really good example of that is in Cochise County, where I live. You see that little part that's kind of cut out there at the bottom? That's conveniently just jigsawed out of there? That's Patagonia and Bisbee, two very big blue areas. That's why they were gerrymandered out of it. So that's why it's that way. And like you just look at it, there's counties that are just split apart because of the gerrymandering. And so absolutely, I don't care if they fuss. I am all for it. Sure, we want to redistrict. That's fine. We'll figure it out. Hopefully, we have more Democrats in the states so that we're able to pass those kinds of things. But yeah, I'm all for redistricting and stop this gerrymandering stuff, especially getting Bisbee and Patagonia back in Cochise. That's angering for me. I go to Bisbee all the time. I'm 30 minutes away from there, so I go there all the time. So, yes.
Any other questions? Yeah, Mike.
As Democratic candidates and as fellow Democrats, we're not talking about democracy. That is the biggest threat to the Constitution and to democracy. And I commend the veterans. You're still veterans. You will always be my brothers and sisters as veterans. May I suggest that you capitalize on that? You have the competitive edge as veterans. And I say that as a military retiree. I wish I could be a candidate, but I've chosen not to be. So let's talk about democracy in your presentations, especially protect and defend the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, to me, democracy does not begin and end at the ballot box. And we've, for so long, gotten so used to that being the way that we express democracy in America. But that's the finish line. There's a whole marathon before you get there. And we have to actually start being engaged and involved in the goings-on of our community before it even gets to an issue where we need to start pulling in government resources and electoral results to get those things done. Because we've seen how easy it is for money to target and subvert an electoral process. But money can't subvert the mass of the people coming together and fixing their own problems with their own expertise, their own resources, and the combined genius of that entire community. So democracy is more than just going and voting for one of two people that corporate sponsors have placed on a piece of paper. It is about a way of life of existing within your community and engaging with them and working towards common solutions for common problems with them every day of your life. That is democracy.
Very good. So I have an uncle buried in Italy, and I have 3 other uncles who, all 4, which was, remember the little leaves that they would put in the windows back during the war to say how many sons were in the service? My grandmother had one with the 4 leaves, all 4 of her sons. One didn't come home. One came home, was a little messed up in his head. But my daughter did Coast Guard. So I think one of the things about democracy is that again, it's money. We need to get money out of all political arenas. and I'm not sure how to do that. I know there's a lot of things out there that they're working on. We have a Supreme Court that went ahead and decided that United Citizens, that corporations could be people. I don't know how that could happen. But the other is to get religion needs to be separated. No matter what religion, whether it's just a spiritual moment, it should not be matched into any kind of our governmental system now. And I think that's been coming in, and now with Mr. Kirk's demise and his deceit, and that he's deceased, that really triggered some more. And then you come to find out how wicked he was on some of his viewpoints of humanity. And again, you're right. Democracy is about our Constitution. It's about we are governing as the people, and we tell the electors. And I don't think we've done that well in the last 20 years. And we need to figure out how to fix that. Thank you.
So I agree with you when it comes to democracy. In fact, I wouldn't be standing up here, as trying to be an elected official if I didn't believe in restoring democracy. And especially being overseas, I've seen how theocracies have corrupted nations and turned them into wastelands, basically. And I don't want to see something like that happen over here. And I've also seen corruptness. And that's part of the reason that I'm fighting, and part of the reason I chose to be out as I am. I don't talk about it in a lot of my speeches, but part of the reason I chose to be open about being a trans woman is because it shows people that I am fighting against that appearance or that administration, because I didn't have to. All of my documents, birth certificate, ID card, passport, everything says female on it. I didn't have to change. I didn't have to be open about it at all. I choose to be because I know that it gives people hope to see somebody willing to fight against that, especially when you're one of the worst, or when you're one of the people who are being targeted the most. And so that's why I chose to do it, for that reason. But another reason I don't talk about it as much in, at least my initial speeches, further visits I probably will talk about it more. The reason I don't talk about it as much is because there's a reason MAGA was able to get their poisonous little talons into the nation, and it's because they were able to capitalize on people's basic needs. When you don't have your basic needs met, it's with Maslow hierarchy of needs, you're unable to really get some of that more psychological things like democracy. Like the average person, if they're having trouble getting food, they're not thinking about democracy. They just aren't. And so that's why I focus on really bringing back to the basic needs that people need to survive, like healthcare, education, and water. But I agree with you. I think that the democracy, fighting for democracy, upholding it, and kicking these corrupt people out is definitely on my agenda. It's one of my most important things. It's just not something that I talk about in the initial meetings.
Great. Okay, we've kind of run over our time, so I'm sorry, we'll cut it off at that. Anyhow, best of luck to all three of you, and I think we'd like to hear from you again as it gets closer to the primary. So,
Yes, please.
all right, cool. Thank you all. Yeah, I think that's it. Be safe.
Thank you.
Rally. Thank you. We'll see you in 2 weeks.